Today's webinar. So we are in a series about team building. So last week, if you guys chimed in, we started just talking about building a real estate team. And just like any team, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So you got to make sure that you have the right supporting cast, the right people behind you, the right people, bringing you the deals, helping you analyze the deals, helping you actually acquire those deals. So that's where Erin comes in. So we're going to start here with the Realtor focus. She's going to talk to us a little bit about what she does in real estate, why real estate, and then how she's going to give us some pointers on how to find a good realtor, and just really share with us what it is that these realtors can bring to us. I think it's important to hear from their perspective. I think a lot of people just think a realtor is someone that helps you get into your personal residence, and that's absolutely not the case at all. Erin has been helping me for many months now on some crazy situations, and has just been absolutely instrumental to the team, and she brings so many resources to the table as well. She's to give you kind of a couple examples, we right now are dealing with the craziest transaction in the history of real estate. I might be kidding, but that could also have some base there. We've really come across every issue you can with this one property, this one flip that I did. But it's been up and down. We lost the contract, fired contractors, dealing with liens, now just dealing with insurance stuff. And Erin's been part of all of that. And she's been helping me, advising me, and most importantly, I think connecting me with people that have been able to help in all different areas of this transaction. So we also did another one that we closed actually on December 31st. And there was what were the issues with that? It was like a THDA thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
we had to wait to close.
Yeah. So there were a couple issues there too. It just, like any transaction, every real estate transaction is different. And what I really love about Erin is just that she's so patient and willing to kind of work through all of the differences and all the different, all the things that come up in transactions. And she's always willing to kind of overcome the hurdle and move on. And it's never like this burden, which I think can be exhausting, as an investor. And I think when most people come to me, their biggest concern with realtors or approaching realtors is wasting their time, because we know as investors, we might look at 10 properties, we might look at 100 properties before we buy one. And, obviously residential clients can do the same thing. But so that's the biggest concern with them. And so hopefully, Erin, you can kind of talk a little bit about that. But I would love for you to kind of tell us your story, tell us how you got into real estate and why real estate.
Yeah, that's great. So I actually started in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is a completely different market than here. It's like 175 is the average price range, and here it's like 300,000, depending where you're at. So I started there. I was working 2 or 3 jobs in retail, waiting tables, and I knew I wanted to work with people. And I just feel like God just put it on my heart to real estate. And that started when I was 18 years old. And then I ended up moving to Pensacola, Florida. And then when my brother passed away, I moved back to Shreveport. And then I was still in retail working at the Buckle, and I had a manager that said I could have my own store. And I knew I liked to lead people and help people. So real estate just kept coming to mind. I didn't know anybody in real estate. It's definitely completely different than I thought it would be, for sure. So it's different than why I got into real estate and why I'm currently in real estate right now, 13 years later. So I decided to get my real estate license when I was 24 years old. I'm now 37. So it's been 13 years, and I got in, I was like, oh, I can show houses all day and I can talk to people all day and it's gonna be great. But it's completely different. And now it's more of seeing it as a business rather than showing houses all day. And then 3 years into it, I was just kind of stuck, and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. And then I met a team leader at Keller Williams who just showed me how to run it as a business. And I just grew my business 100% every year I was at Keller Williams, and just read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. So I highly suggest that. There's an investment one too. That's great. And it's a lot of it, the first 20% of it is on mindset. So that's a good one to look at. And then I just realized I could create opportunity for other agents. And then Gary talked about leveraging the things that you don't like to do. And that's a reason why you should have a real estate agent on your team, because you don't have all day to look at property, but that realtor, that's their job and they're around it every day. So it's a good reason to have an agent. So my team leader at Keller Williams, she was like, you should start a team, go to these classes with me. And I was like, I don't want to build a team, but I went anyways. And then a year later, I started building a team, and I didn't like doing the admin work. I didn't like doing all the paperwork. So I just started leveraging there. And then one day I was like, I have more leads than I can handle. So I started interviewing for a buyer's agent, and just realized I wanted to create opportunities for other real estate agents. So I do have a real estate team currently. We have 4 other sales agents besides myself, and then an admin team. So we have a transaction coordinator and the director of operations. So I have someone that just runs the whole operations team, which Erin, you're very familiar with that. So just leveraging is like huge for me. And then I decided to move to Tennessee because my brother lives here and he has 2 kids. And so my parents and I both moved here. So I did something called reverse expansion, where I expanded to Tennessee, but I kept my team going in Shreveport, Louisiana for about 5 years. I just recently let it go because I was like, they're both not where I want them to be at. So now I've been here in Middle Tennessee for 6 years as of February.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. But I love there's like no ceiling in it. Like you can just go as high as you want to, and you get to help people all day. So my focus has definitely changed to like helping people reach their goals, but not just my clients, my teammates too. So that's very important to me, to like empower them and then guide them to help them reach their goals. And you talked a lot about this, which I loved in your podcast with Bigger Pockets, that you talked about like lead measures and KPIs, which the KPIs, the key performance indicators that you talked about. So this is small things that you do daily that make the biggest impact. So just like helping people figure out like what those small things are. And then all like leaders talk about it. It's just consistency. Like you don't have to do it all day. You just have to do it every day for a little while. So it's just finding out what those things are, and it's that compound effect over time. So I am really passionate about that and just helping people reach their goals.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's like the thing that I like most about dealing with your team and working with your team. You know, your mindset and your attitude, like you definitely have this abundant mindset. You know, you don't look at everyone else as competition, which I think is a real struggle for a lot of people, especially in entrepreneurship, especially with people who have a drive to do this kind of stuff. We're just naturally very competitive. And so I think, you know, learning to adopt that abundant mindset and learning to realize like how much further you can get by collaborating with people and working with people and not seeing everybody as a competition, and instead seeing them as like someone to kind of like grab onto their coattails and try to keep up and just use them as like motivation. I think that's huge, and that can help you go way to the next level, right? And
absolutely.
Yeah. And I love that about your team. And I think, you know, your attitude definitely is like reflected on with everybody on your team. And, you know, I say this all the time. I love working with your team. It's a huge testament to you that you've been able to build this team. And when you do step away, like if you have to deal with something personal or whatever, and someone else has to step in, I love that there's no gap. It's just a seamless transition. Everybody's sort of speaking the same language, on the same page, and you don't see that very often. So yeah, so I love that. I just wanted to touch on another couple things that you said. The sort of limitless mentality as an entrepreneur. Like, I don't think most people realize that real estate agents are independent contractors. They're entrepreneurs. They have no limit for what they can make. You know, they're going to split some of their commissions, some of their earnings with their brokerage that they're required to be affiliated with. But, you know, that's usually pretty minimal. And so, you know, the more you do, the more you make. And there's literally no cap to that. And that's sort of the benefit of entrepreneurship too. And I say like, I can make as much money as I want. And the more I work, the more money that I make. And that's very liberating. It's kind of really daunting and really intimidating at times, but very liberating and keeps me moving forward. And I think the other thing I liked, you talked a lot about like developing other people. And I've like recently sort of, when I kind of like hit a lull, I try to reflect on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
I tend to sort of defer to like this making money thing. And it's great, but it's not about the money. Money is the tool, right? Money is the tool for me, build that financial freedom and give me the flexibility to do the things I want to do. So I've
Yep.
recently adopted this like mindset, like I want to make $1 billion by making a lot of other people $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And like knowing that I'm helping other people, that's what drives me. And that's what kind of keeps me going. And that's way more motivating than that $1 billion, amount, because there's times when you're just like dragging, but when you see other people succeed, it's so awesome. So a little side note on that, Erin knows this flip that I'm selling right now, I'm losing a good chunk of money on, but I just had a client call me the other day. They had their property listed for $599. She got a $655 offer.
Whoa.
Yeah, like a couple days after putting it on the market. She's in Boston, so it went quick. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
so that's like so motivating to see other people be able to do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I share that. I'm gonna hand it back over to Erin. So tell me, Erin, why do you think that? So most of these listeners are going to be real estate investors or want to be investors. Why do you think that? You kind of touched on it before, but why should we have realtors on our team? And how should we go about finding these realtors? Like, how do we find the ones that, like, how do we know if we're going to be a right fit, or what kind of questions should we ask? Any advice in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. And I am also like endorsed by Dave Ramsey. So we get interviewed by multiple buyers or sellers daily. So Dave sends a list of questions that they ask, but I would create that list as well. And then something else, when you're building your team, and I do this for building my team too, if we need a position, I create what they call like a missing person report. So, and you want someone that's going to be a good like team player and work well with you and support you. So create that missing person report. Like, what would that person look like? And imagine what that person would be and what they could do for you. So it could be like a certain, like, do you want them to be driven, or I don't know if you guys know about the DISC profile, but do you want them to be a high D where they're like just going after property for you? Or do you want them to be super detail oriented? Like, what do you want that person to look like? So I would create that. This is what I'm looking for in a real estate agent. And then also create your list of questions that you want to ask them. So I would ask, how long have you been in the business? How do you find investment properties for me? Where are you looking? And like for us, like we generate every day from 9 to 11 o'clock. And not just me, my team is. So you're not just hiring me as an agent, like, you're hiring like 7 other people that are going to be looking for property for you. And I honestly don't specialize in investing as much as Roger does on my team. He's in that world. He's in like networking groups with REN, which is a Nashville networking group. So he's a part of that. And he also teaches classes in that. So he's just very well diverse in investing and finding those good deals too. But still, like, we call them rent to own, for sale rent, like where they're like owners of a property and they're renting them out. We have their numbers so we can like call them. So that's a way, like, how are you prospecting to find me good deals out there? That's one question that I would ask for sure. What resources do you have to help me find good deals? Or even investment properties, because we know it's not always finding a good deal. It's sometimes what profit it's going to bring in. So those are a lot of the questions that I would ask. And then I would find someone that does have a team, because if you don't, like, real estate, there's a lot and we can't do it all by ourselves. Like, I can't do all the paperwork. I can't do all my marketing. I can't show all the properties. Like, I'm only one person. So like, we're definitely better together. So I think finding someone that does have a team is important. So I was thinking, and then how do you find that person? I think word of mouth is the biggest thing. I think word of mouth and finding property too, just by saying it and getting it out there. So doing like a Facebook post in the area that you're looking in, Googling, and then looking at their website, I think is important. And then just giving them a call and interview, like taking them through an interview process to make sure like they're the right agent for you and what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's huge. That's almost like to a T what I tell my clients whenever they're trying to find any team member. Start with referrals, start with people, like find out from people who've used, this person, this realtor, this contractor, whatever it is. And,
Mm-hmm.
we want to get from them, like, I worked with them start to finish. They were amazing. They helped me with this and that. And so that's a really good start. And then I tell them from there, go ahead and start vetting them, look at their reviews, look at their social media, look at their presence. You can
Mm-hmm.
tell a lot about a person. I mean, some people aren't even really on those platforms, but it's a good place to look, and
Yep.
then get to the point of interviewing when you feel like there could be a good fit. I think that's huge. I think a lot of investors that follow my platforms typically are pretty new, and so I just kind of want to throw a plug out there. Like, I think that if you find an agent who's new and maybe doesn't have a team yet, I don't know I wouldn't say necessarily disqualify them, because you're probably going to be in a similar position. So I think I say that because I think you can grow together. I think that you guys can take your business to the next level together, but you need to make sure that they have the attitude of growth and they want to scale. They have the ability and the desire to do that. So, if you do find someone who's brand new, make sure that they have that same attitude as you and that same mindset.
They might not have a million clients. They might just have a few. So you're right. They have that growth mentality, and they will give you their all because you're probably like one of their 5 clients that they have. So I think they'll have more time too. So that's a good perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that as long as they, I think regardless of client load, making sure that that person has time for you is absolutely imperative. Like, Erin has tons of clients, but I don't think I ever wait for more than like an hour for her to get back to me in terms of a text message or
Yep.
a voicemail or something like that. So that's a huge testament to her and her team and all of that. So I think the other thing that I really appreciate about Erin in terms of what she's been helping me with in Nashville is sort of thinking outside the box in terms of exit strategies. So this current flip that we're selling next week, hopefully, we basically, I was going to refinance it on about March 18th when coronavirus, when all the shelter in place stuff happened. And so my appraisal came back much lower. It didn't really make sense to refinance at that point because I couldn't get the cash out. It was going to cost me a ton of money out of pocket. So at that point, the pressure was on to sell the property. And so we started thinking about different ways to offload it. And it's a higher end property. We're selling it for 506,000. Like Erin said, the average price point in the area is closer to 300. So it's a pretty high end property, which those clients I've learned have come, are a little bit more demanding, and they expect different things than the $200,000 client. And so we had to get real creative about ways to get rid of this thing and ways to sell it. And so we ended up selling it to just a retail buyer, but we pursued a lease to own, and we looked into some other things. So I think it's important that your agent understand what some of those other exit strategies are, like subject to or owner financing or lease to own scenarios. And even if they don't necessarily specialize in those things, they can connect you with someone who does, and they can help you sort of navigate that. And also, like, give you that peace of mind to know there's not just one way to deal with this property. There's not just one way to buy or sell a property. There's tons of ways and tons of combinations of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask those questions too. Like, what kind of strategies do you pursue? What do you know about subject to financing, owner financing? Have you ever done a lease to own? And if they're like totally confused about those things, then maybe they're not the right person. But if they say, I'm not real familiar with that, but I got someone on my team, or I know this guy that could definitely help, like, that's a good sign too. So I would definitely ask those questions. All right, Erin, what advice would you give to new investors?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as much training like this that you can do is important, and even coaching, if you can get into training or coaching that can guide you, and just start with one property, I think is huge. Gary Keller, the owner of Keller Williams, does teach us, like, okay, the MRA book, then the MRI book, which is an investor one. So we should be like having our own business, but at the same time, we should be investing like parallel to each other. As we have profit, we need to be investing in, so like real estate. So I do like, I bought my first property when I was 26. I didn't have any money to put down. It was like a HUD property. But I just did it. Just did that first one. It was like 130,000. I still have that property in Shreveport, and I rent it out. And the same renters have been in there for 5 years. So it's been great, just to hold on to it. So I think just make that leap of faith and then do it. And then there's just so many different avenues that you can go down. And now I currently, I wanted to live in East Nashville, which, it's really expensive to live over there if you're single and trying to build your business still. So I thought outside the box. I was like, maybe I can do a short-term rental. In Nashville, you have to like owner occupy to like live there. So I purchased it and rent out the whole house, and then live in the basement that's completely redone and finished out. So I'm able, it pays for my mortgage, and before COVID, it paid for more. Now it just pays for the mortgage, but we'll get back through it and we'll get past this. But I think so too, just look at all the different avenues in real estate. You have flipping property, you have holding on to property, which is, it's a little bit slower in its compound effect. But if you look over time, eventually like there'll be a lot of profit from that over time for sure. So I think just, if it's small, it's okay. Just start somewhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think what you were talking about with your KPIs, that's a really good place to start too, because if you do those every single day, even if you take the tiniest little step forward, at least you're making progress.
Yeah.
And a couple other things I wanted to highlight. That situation you just talked about where you're renting out part of your house, that's called house hacking. And that's a really awesome strategy, especially for people getting into investing. If they can't afford the 20 or 25% down payment, you can get into a house for 3 to 5% down, sometimes zero down, depending on what support assistance you can get. And then you can rent it out. So you're living for free, or maybe close to free, and someone else is paying down your mortgage. So that property value is going to appreciate, your mortgage payment's going to go down, and you're hopefully going to make money every month, or at least live for free. So that's awesome. And then another thing Erin mentioned in there was the short-term rental rules. And so I think really important to know that your agent knows their market really well. I can throw an address at Erin and just be like, would this make a good investment? And she can tell me right away, like, you can't do short-term rental here, or, this is close to this area that's bad, or you're going to have vacancy issues. She can tell me those things like almost just off the cuff, because she's experienced and she knows the market. So I think that's super important as an investor when you're networking with a realtor. And that's where the experience and like time in the business comes into play too.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that people, like, one of your biggest expenses is your mortgage or your rental. And we always think about like, oh, let's save $5 and not buy a coffee. Well, why not like do house hacking and then have someone like be able to pay for your mortgage and some, like you can profit depending where you're at. And then it's like, it really is a dream of mine to like live in this area, because there's a park called Shelby Park that's close by, and I just love the diversity of the area. My church is over there. So it's just like been a dream of mine. So I'm able through real estate to be able to live in this area that's like a dream and be able to afford it and then some. And it was a huge risk, but sometimes you just have to have faith and take that leap for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And something I hear you saying too is that sort of living inside your means, and also knowing like you're trying to build this business. So you're putting a lot into that, constantly growing your business, even though some people might think you've been doing it for 13 years. Why are you still growing it? Well, you're never going to stop growing your business. I'm never going to stop growing my business. That's just the way that we think about it. So I think, all of that plays into it. And I bet it's way, way easier for you to be disciplined and you to forego that $6 cup of coffee, knowing that you have such bigger plans, right? It's so much more important than those little things. So I think I'm kind of taking what you said to another level, but
no, it's great. I love it.
All right, Erin, how can we get a hold of you?
So you can get a hold of me on Instagram. We're on there. It's hollowayhomegroup.com. You can follow us there. On Facebook as well. It's Holloway Home Group Tennessee. So make sure to put T in, because I still have the Shreveport one that comes up as well. You can also email me at erin@teamhhg.com. It's a great place to email.
Yeah, awesome. And Holloway is Holloway. And I'll make sure that these are all in the notes on the YouTube page, and you guys will get, and they'll get an email too with all this information as well, following up anyone who registered. So awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Erin. We're going to open it up to questions here in a second. I just want to close out real quick before we end the recording, and just share with anyone listening about my courses. I've got an investor course, which is very foundational. It will help you really build the base, figure out what you're working on, help you build a strategic plan, get to the root of your motivations and exactly what it is that you're trying to achieve, so that we can build a team to support that and also analyze a market at the same time, and then get into actually analyzing properties, making offers, and then making your money. I also have a flips course that will help you from start to finish, from acquiring the deal, hiring the team, doing the renovation, and then offloading the deal with whatever exit strategy you choose on the end. After you complete my courses, you have the opportunity to join our mastermind. We've got 2 mastermind groups that meet regularly. And also, me and my team bring deals. We bring actual real deals to you guys that you can take advantage of, and we can help you navigate those deals. So thank you all so much for joining us. And I hope to see you next week.